Yes, we are back as you know it here on the Naked Truth. Yes, so as we have to take just a small break, just for a second, just to do some technical things. So yeah, so we are back live now, and big up everybody out there. Respect to everyone out there. These days have been very hot, and obviously, this is a topic to really talk about. Not because we want to really discuss this, but because we want to bring some awareness to the people out there and listeners out there and people who are interested in this this thing. So you all see, and I'm sure you all out there can feel the weather as it's changing, and for the past, it begins few years ago, and it's continuing to change, and the temperature is getting real humid, real hot. You have what you'd say this well, they've been talking about global warming, right? And you have to ask yourself, these people are worrying so much about global warming and how they can fix it or change it in whatever way they want to change it. So, they're talking about global warming. What is global warming? And this topic has been up in the media, mainstream media, for a while now. People been talking about this global warming, and when we say people, there's a specific people who are pushing this narrative about global warming for whatever reason, that but there's an agenda behind it. you know it seems like the melanated people are not worried about global warming because they know that the earth is going to be hot. It's just a natural occurrence after a period of time. If the earth was hot before, and it's going to be hot again, just like before. So before, yeah, big up yourself, Willie, man. Willie G, big up yourself. Yeah, so the earth, it was hot before, and because it was hot before, in ancients a time ago, it's going to be hot again, just like you had where water would, in certain areas, the sea receded from the land and give land, right? So the sea eventually is going to come back and claim those land that it gave up before, right? So you have to understand, if the earth was hot before, millions of years ago, that the cycle is going to come around because everything is moving. Nature itself is moving in a cycle. So today, when you look and you see the weather hot, and in England, as you hear the news that the asphalt and the runway is melting, so there's no flight there. I mean, this is going to happen. These people now who are in power and control, these non-melanated people, they are worried. They're worried because it's going to be very, very hot. And if they cannot survive in this ecosystem, it means a lot of them are going to die. So, and you have a lot of melanated people who are worried about the heat based on the information that they're getting from the non-melanated people. Do you understand me? So we have to figure out, what global warming is. What is it, and what's the cause of global warming? Because they lie to you and tell you that global warming has to do with pollution and plastics and all kind of different things, in the environment. And that's a lie. It's a lie. It has nothing to do with pollution and these other things that they're attributing to it. Global warming is a natural occurrence, basically natural occurrence, and it's going to happen. And there's nothing they could do to change it. But they want to interrupt, this natural course. They want to interrupt it because they don't feel safe. They feel threatened, right? And when someone feels threatened about their existence, they're trying to figure a way to stop what's happening because they think that they have the technology to do it. I don't know if you guys listened. Bill Gates at one point said that he wanted to block the sun. So he's creating some kind of I forgot exactly what it was. I don't really pay too much attention to that. But our people, our melanated people, who are getting caught up in this deception and believing that global warming will affect everyone. No, it's not. It's not affecting everyone. Global warming is going to affect the people that don't belong in this ecosystem. You understand me? I was today observing the ants. As small as the ant is, it was outside, as hot as the weather is, and it wasn't affected by that. It wasn't affected by the heat. It was crawling on the hot concrete, as you know it, moving about its business, playing, doing whatever an ant does, right? It doesn't affect them. Why? Because the ant has melanin. He was created for this ecosystem. The sun will not bother him. Well, of course, we talk about heat because heat will affect anyone. We can feel it because we are sensitive to these things, right? So, of course, we're going to feel heat. Of course, we're going to feel cold, right? We're alive, right? So our body will react to these different elements, right? But to the extreme, all of us will be affected to the extreme. If, for the melanated people, when the earth, begin to change or, begin to heat up, we're going to adapt to it. The melanated people are just going to adapt and fit right into that. And our body is going to be, just naturally fit right into, to whatever temperature it is. Even if it's not us, but the generation after us will born with that, identity, will born with that information to live in the sun and to absorb the sun, and it wouldn't affect him at all. So they're talking about global warming and making it an issue, and a lot of people are falling victim to this, believing that this is actually happening, and there's ice in the North Pole and different places, the Antarctica, and it's melting and it's going to cause all kind of stuff. They keep forgetting that the water was where it was before. The sea, where the sea border, the border line of where the water comes, that's not where it was before. In years ago, the water was, occupying a lot more land than it is now. As I said, the water recede and it gives land, and now it's claiming that land back. So we have to understand that, right? So global warming is not affecting the melanated people. It's nothing for melanated people to worry about. Your melanin will be increased and you will be protected from the rays or the harmful rays, but they call it harmful rays, but the rays of the sun. So you'll be able to survive in this ecosystem. Now, for the other people who are not or don't have melanin, they're going to be at risk. They're going to be at risk. And that's the truth. So when they tell us about global warming, and I believe we talked about this before, about the ozone layer, what they call the ozone layer, and that there's a hole in it, and it's because of pollution, and it's because of all these different things that they claim, and they have to fight. And, these men in power, they know what's going to happen at a certain time. So when you hear them saying global warming, they're basically telling you that there is a change coming. There is a change, but it's not what or how they explained it to you, or how they tell you what global warming is, but simply telling you that, you're going to be affected, to create this fear in you. And when you're afraid, then you're going to have to believe in those who are in power, think that they could save you and they're going to change what's happening. You understand? So they will be the protector. So it's all about political gain and control and fear of the melanated people rising, because the people who are non-melanated will suffer greatly because of this ordeal. So this is why we have to look at things differently, not the way that we've been told on mainstream media and other platforms. I know they use different people to push, this narrative, this lies and deception. So we could fall victim to these things. We're not victim to them. global warming is a natural occurrence, and I'm using the term global warming because it's a current term that they're using, right? It has nothing to do with pollution. The earth is not heating up because there was pollution, because there was unnatural gas releasing in the air. No, it's not doing that. The earth is heating up because it's a natural process. There's a time when it was hot, and then the cores go around like from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7. This hands keep going around, and it may take thousands of years, but it's going to come back to what it was. And this is where we are today. We're at the beginning of where the process started to decline. And this is where we are at here, people. So I want you guys to know this, that when this time happened in our generation, or the generation to come, not to be afraid of it. Embrace it, because you have melanin. You were made to survive no matter if the sun come close or far away from the earth. You will survive here. The creator that created you gave you the attributes to survive within this ecosystem. Now the people that came from you, these other people that came from you, which we call them the hybrids, right? The people who possess leprosy this day, they're not going to be able to survive. Do you know in Australia, a lot of people are dying, a lot of people dying there from skin cancer and all kind of different things. The rate of skin cancer in those countries are very, very high. It seems that the non-melanated people never give us statistics and numbers and how many people are being killed each year or month because of the sun. Because they can't say it. How could you say that when you tell yourself that you're the superior person, that you're the original person? And the elements that give light in this world is affecting you. So they won't tell you that. You won't get the numbers and how many people dying. They won't make this mainstream news or information for you, right? What they will tell you that we're all affected. They will include the melanated people as well, as if we're affected by this when we're not. And we won't be affected by this. So I want you guys to understand that. So this hole in the ozone layer nonsense and all of these different things, man, get that out your head, okay? There's no such thing. Focus your energy on the Most High. Focus your life around the Most High. Right? So I just want to clear that, because, we had a conversation, this week, with someone about the ozone layer. We're discussing a lot of things, and I'm telling you that, the birds will always be flying around, the dogs, the cat, they will always be flying around. The only thing they need is water, and they'll find water, and they will survive no matter how high the temperature goes. The birds, the dog, the cat, the ants, the roach, the insect, all of them has melanin. So they won't be affected by that. So my people out there, please do not follow this nonsense, right? Just know yourself. And please do not use their suntan lotion, because it's not for you. And a lot of black people out there using this thing because you understand you live in a white society. So when you see the advertising, so this is good for the summer, and you have to get the best suntan lotion for the summer and HD black and all these nonsense, that's not for you. It's for their people. They're advertising it for their people to purchase to protect them from the sun, not you. You don't need it. But then you have a lot of black people who believe, the includers. Let's call them the includers. Those people who so deeply rooted in the society believe that, everything that the white man says, or everything that the non-melanated people say, it's referring to them as well. So whatever information they put out in the public, it has to do with everybody. It doesn't. You're not even counted in that. They're not even thinking about you when they're telling you, they're saying, well, the summer is coming and you should get your lotion, you should get your suntan lotion because it's important to have to protect your skin. You don't need that. Your skin is naturally suntan lotion in it already. You have melanin, a very precious trait that protect you from the sun. Okay, so please do not follow the nonsense. I want you guys to understand that. So we don't need those things. So don't put them on your kids, because they have components in them that will harm your child later on in the future. So I want you guys not to follow these things that they're saying. They tend to put limits, or maybe it's we misunderstood what they're saying at times, or maybe it's not putting limits on us, but limits on themselves. Do you remember when they said that a black person could not, they said a white person, during that time, athletic was, or track and field, let's start with that, was mainly white. Was not mainly, it was white. So it was only white runners, male and female. And then later on, so they predicted on their runners that they wouldn't break 10 seconds, but they were right. So their scientists studied and knew that their people wouldn't break, right, the 10-second barrier. And they were correct. They were 100% correct. See, they were putting limits on their people now, because we live within the society. We believe when they make these statements that, it applies to us, melanated people. But it doesn't. Now you can see for yourself that the black man has excelled and break the 10-second barrier, and only he has broken that ever since. You get what I'm saying? So this is what we have to learn, that we're different. We're not the same people. We're different, and when they're making statements at time, it's not for the whole population. They know who they're talking to. So when they say things like there's a 10-second barrier and they put limitation and nobody could break the 10 second, nobody could run 5'9" or 5'2" or 5'1", they're talking about themselves. You cannot put limits on the melanated people. Every limits they put, they will break it down. Our people will break it down. Remember they said about the runners that you have to be a certain height, you have to be compact and lower center of gravity so that you can run at 100 meters, right? And the 100-meter race, and you can't be tall because a tall person cannot do it. And this is what they scientists regulated, but it wasn't about, as I said again, it wasn't about the melanated people. And if they were doing that, they probably thought, right, that what applied to them applied to us, and it doesn't. Now, when Usain Bolt came along and then begin to and break these world records and change the whole face, now scientists have to go back to study again. So I'm only giving you that because I want you guys to understand that you cannot put limit on the black person. They're the original person. They will always do things that are going to amaze the mind. They will always do it. They're going to always do it. The limits that the non-melanated people have, the black ones don't have it. Or the melanated people do not have it. So I want you guys to understand that, man. So we have to clear those things all the way as we get into, deeper into some more interesting topics. And let's talk about, the Bible. Because I was speaking to someone, this week, and we were talking about the Bible, and they were very confused about what the Bible was about. And if there is a God, and people have different concept about who they think God is. Now, the word God is not the name of an individual or entity. We use this term because it has a meaning. So it's a title, right? That's telling us that there's someone who is in higher authority over, the what you say, the minority, or the majority, basically. So this authority is far beyond what the average mind can comprehend. So we're talking about the Bible, how people understood this book, and how it's, people become confused reading this book. And how do we know what to believe in? if we begin to break and take the layers apart, like how do we know what to believe in? How do we know it? You know, now you would read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, you do Genesis, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Songs of Solomon, Proverbs. I mean, we go through all these books and all of them are saying something. How do we know truly who write them? And I'm saying this because I want you guys to understand what do we take away from this book and how we deal with the information that we get reading this book. So we have to understand this, right? We need to understand the foundation of this, the origin of this information. Because we could strip everything down to basically ground zero, and what we'll come up with, it will be a deeper confusion for people. How do we know, that the book is the word of the Creator, or the word of God, as they say? How do we know that it's the word of God? How do we know that for certain, right? Based on we reading and studying this book, how do we know that this entire book is the word of God? And this is what Christians have said, and this is what theologians, Bible scholars, professors, all these different people have said about this book. It is the word of God. Did God came down and wrote this book? Did he inspire people who believe in him to write this book? I mean, how these words come together and in this context, how did it come together in this particular context that we have before us today that we call the Holy Bible? What is truthful about it? What is not truthful about it? This is what we're here to discuss today. So we need to find this out, because I'm telling you, we could all go back to reference points and we could all swear. Christians could swear, yes, Jesus, he's the savior, he's this, and yes, Jesus helped me to do this, and we could. I mean, many people out there can attest, to this. They had that conversation at some point with someone. But where is the proof? This is why when we read Bible, or when we talk about Bible, we have to talk about the origin, because we could talk about the whole story. Psalms 89, Psalms 83, Genesis 9:15, and all of these numbers that lead us to different parts and scriptures of the book. These numbers and these phrases and words and names were never even a part of the scrolls. So how do we know what is truthful about the Bible? And how do we know God, if he did came and give words to men and said, okay, these are the words that I'm inspiring you prophets to write in this book? How do we know that there was a connection? And what I'm saying this is because we're dealing with reality, because here in the naked truth, we have to speak the truth about what's happening, right? I mean, we all could just believe something because we were told when we were a child, we were kids. They will tell us things, and we will take these things and wholeheartedly carry them through the rest of our life, carry them through our future, and teach them to our kids, and they become polluted, and nobody question, why are we teaching our kids this? Because I've learned it from my mother. I've learned it from my father. I've learned it from friends and family members, aunties and uncles. So how do we fix this? How do we know that this truth is actually truth? How do we know that all words and every word in this book was given by the Creator? And I did video before where we spoke about the Bible, and I told you guys, I said, you know what? Not everything inside here is true, and we should have that in mind before we open this book and begin to read it. So I've explained that in prior videos. So I want you guys to understand that first of all. And how do we determine whether or not there is truth in this? And what part of this and how many of this book is actually talking about the Creator? And how many of it is actually connected to God, right? Because the whole book, you can read it and it might mention Lord and God, and see, we have to know these different phrases that were used within that time, what it meant. So we use Lord, we use God, we use different titles. What is the real name? Because there's a scripture where the Messiah said, asking my name, and it shall be given. Now, we can speak the truth about this because we have seen it ourselves, right? So here on the Naked Truth, we can actually talk about it, and we can explain. We all have seen this before. We all have seen our parents suffer, and they pray to this name, and nothing happened. I'm not lying. And you guys out there, you know it too. You may have done the same thing. There is no immediate rescue. There's nothing happen immediately right as you ask for it. I'm not talking about the churchgoers. I'm talking about Islam. I'm talking about all religion today on the face of the earth. Nothing happened. But even though nothing happened, people still hold on to this belief. And they'll tell themselves, okay, it's going to happen at some point. Some point in time, it's going to happen. But it has never happened. No one out there could point to me. We can try to connect this to every single part of our life and the experiences that we have, and the haps and the mishaps, or whatever happened in our lives, and we can say, yeah, it's because the Most High why this happened. We all done it. We all have done that, right? We said it before. Oh my God, I was walking and I found $100, and because of the Creator why I found it. Right? We all have given the credit to God. Use the term God because that's the term you guys use. God is because of God why I found this $100. You almost get killed, and because of God why you were saved. So it's all good. You understand? It's all good to give credit to the person that you believe is your Creator, that He's the one that caused all the things that happen to you to happen. Yes. You got to have faith, nothing happened overnight. That's the thing, what I'm saying to you. Even though we can use the term overnight, big up yourself, Trini boy out there, man. Even though we can talk about the overnight things, what do we consider overnight to be? Overnight is what, 2 years, 10 years? What is overnight? I don't think overnight, right? Overnight, according to how we use the term, right? We're talking about a moment, just a space in time. Right? Does that refer to overnight mean 10, 20 years overnight? You know, what would be the purpose? You ask for something that you cannot get at the time that you're in need of it. This is what we have to look, the reality of what we have to think about, right? Asking for something is like, okay, you go to your friend's house, you're hungry, you need some food. You knocked on his door and said, I'm hungry, could you give me some food? And he's telling you that, listen, I have food, but I can't give it to you right now. I'm going to travel for 2 years. When I come back, I could give it to you. What purpose would it serve you then? When it's now that you're in need, the fact that you're in need is the reason why you asked for it. If you wasn't in need of it, why ask for it, right? So we ask for things because it's an immediate desire. We need it now, so we ask for it now. So we can say the overnight could be, well, it's not gonna happen today, maybe tomorrow. Some of us have patience to wait things out. But is it going to happen? That's what I'm saying. Is it going to happen? So when you pray to Jesus and ask him for things, do you get it? You know? See, no, yes, Trini, and you make a good point. You said your mother and your father created you, and you guess the most I created them. See, no, that's you make an interesting statement, comments there. But see, create is a whole different level of putting things together and understanding the component of what you use to put it together. Just like someone could say they create a computer, and create is very in different sense. So we can say we create a computer. Just use that in just a normal term, that we create a computer. So we know the functionality of the computer. We know how much gigabytes, megahertz, megabytes, whatever space is inside. We know everything, how it works, how it gives light, how the power, how much milliamps, how much everything. So we know the functionality of this thing because we created it. So I could break it down and tell you this, if this is not there, it wouldn't work. If this is not there, it wouldn't work. This is why it's work. This is the ingredient. This is this. And if you can't explain that, then you didn't create anything. See, when our mothers and fathers get together and they procreate, this has nothing to do with them. They're just acting based on that information that the Creator put in them to continue the cycle of life. So they'll get together and they'll mate, and the seed that comes from the man, he don't even know what happens inside. See, now scientists are trying to explore, these depths to find how the sperm fertilizes the egg. Outside of that, the woman herself don't even have knowledge of what took place in her womb. She don't even know. She cannot tell you the ingredients of that very sperm. Neither do the man can tell you, well, my sperm is made out of H1, 2BC, whatever. They cannot give you an information on that. If you cannot give information on that, then you can't claim the right to say that you create anything. Because a creator can give you information and based on the product that he himself put together and know the functionality of that product. We don't even know if the child is coming out to be a handicap. We don't know if the child is coming out to be smart. We're not sure if the child is going to survive. So how could someone create something when they're not sure what's going to happen? They don't know if the child is going to come 9 months. We know that 9 months because it's a process that happens within a community and constantly happen all the time. But there are times when a child can stay in the womb for 13 months. There's time when it can come out earlier than 9 months. So, I mean, there's not a fit time. It happened, I guess it's based on the diet. It's based on the person. We can say it based on that, but if the person had the power to create, they would have made the child born the way they wanted to. They wouldn't even increase themselves, with the pain of birth or giving birth. So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, it's very complex how we see things. Parents, we all came through that door, that portal, right? We all came through it. But our parents don't create us. Our parents, they mate because it's a desire, not that they give themselves, which the Creator put within them. So it's a pre-program, right? We have this pre-program information, DNA in us, that the Creator himself, just like a person program a computer and give it certain space and put certain information in it so that the person that purchased it can utilize those information inside to do what they have to do. The Most High put the information within us, and whatever happens, we don't even know. We just know that you and this woman went to bed, and you don't even know that she's pregnant. She herself don't even know sometimes, because even at some point, this woman can have her menstruation during her pregnancy. So it happens with a lot of women. So how do we determine? A Creator know the beginning of things and the ending of all things. So we can say that we share, we compel ourselves to the connection that God, gave us or put between us. So we're connected, we're obedient to this connection, and out of this, because we share this pleasureful thing, something happen, when we accomplish, right, our desire. Something important happen, and we don't even know what it is. We know when we find how we accomplish that release, right? How we fulfill that desire, right? and it comes to an end, we don't know what next, right? We don't know what next. So something happened next, but we don't know the details in what happened next. As I said, scientists, they're trying to get into that to prove whatever it is, but we don't know. So we can say, with a upright, shoulder, that we're caretakers. We don't hone our kids, just like our parents don't hone us, because they can't give life to us. They don't even know how life entered into us. Not even how life entered in themselves. So you have your kids out there, parents, you're a caretaker. Take care of them, teach them well, and prepare them for the world, because you can't control them. You're not supposed to abuse them. You're supposed to teach them well. That's your duty as parents, or caretakers. We all are caretakers, so we don't own anyone. And no, our parents do not create us. So big up yourself for that, Trini boy. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a lot of things, man. Here on the Naked Truth, we're just vibing it. As I said, we're here to educate and to learn at the same time. So yeah. So it's all about we knowing ourselves and knowing what it is, the truth about ourselves. This is the only way to get ahead. We can't become victim, to these information, that's out there. So yeah. So we get together because there's a natural process. It's natural because we all have the experience of it. Just like being hungry, we're not the one who give ourselves the authority to be hungry and to want to eat food. No. These are, pre-recorded information because there was a creator that created us. He gave us these desire, these needs, right? And these needs they have to be filled. When they come upon you, just like you want to sleep at night, when sleep come upon you, you have to go to bed. You could fight it for a while. How long can you fight it? Even then, you can't even stop yourself from doing it, right? We all have to go to sleep at some point. Whether you fight yourself to stay up, guess what? Because the creator who created you, he gave you these attributes. He programmed you this way. He gave you all the ability that you have. When you're hungry, you didn't give yourself the feel to be hungry. No, nobody does. It's a natural thing that happens because your body is working in accordance with whatever or however the Most High programmed it, that in a certain time it needs things that you have to give it to sustain and to maintain it. So we have to do that. Even being in a relationship and having this desire for the female sex is the same thing. You don't give yourself these things. You don't even know, even when you could call the term that they use as being, you're in need. Just I want to say, use the word in need of mating or having, some kind of intercourse with a woman. You don't give yourself the feeling. The feeling just come upon you. You can't even stop it. Because we did not create ourselves. If we could, we would have been able to control them. We would have been able, when we're sick, to heal ourselves. So we don't have that authority. The Creator does. He's the one who created all things. He's the one responsible for the programming of our minds and our actions, what we do, good and bad things. He gave us the choices to choose between the two. The freedom. The freedom we have is what we call freedom. That's the choice to choose left or right. Some of us choose left, some choose right. Our desires didn't come because we generate them. Right? Our needs doesn't come because we generate. These are things that naturally happen because someone created us to have these reactions, right? To have these desires and to fulfill them. So we act upon them and we try to fulfill them. And there are many things. I mean, there are many aspects of our lives that we try to do it too. Not all of them are successful, but some of them are. Yes, yes, definitely. We definitely grew up, Yeah, that's that's exactly. It's a program. Our parents do, scold us for things because that's how their parents treated them. They feel this is the norm, and this is how it's supposed to happen. So our parents do, beat us. You understand? Because they inherit these things from their parents, and they feel, okay, my parents beat me when I was young because I did something wrong. So now this program become a part of you now. So we're reacting out something that is a new program or this is a new idea that that we have learned on our journey, right? And this idea we utilize it because see it makes a difference. Maybe it does because our parents did it, and the reason for doing it is because we have done something wrong, so we're barely getting punished for whatever we do, so we don't do it again. We will utilize these things in our relationship and in our family or among our children. We'll do the same thing. Some people try to break away from that, like, no, I'm not going to do what my parents do to my kids. Now you find out when you have a society like that, then it's going to collapse after a while. The society will collapse because when you can't discipline your child, it don't have to be physical, right? But in a verbal way of an understanding to let him understand there is good and there is bad. This is the problem. There's good and there is bad. And you have to learn this. You have to learn good, you understand me, and bad at the same time, and learn which one is better for you to do than and not to do. So these things we have to learn, but we adapt. We adapt things from our parents, and not only our parents, but the society that we live in. We adapt these things and we try to make them our own. We try to make them us. So most of the time, it's not our true desire to do these things, but they're inherited ways, right? That we picked up along the way, and we try to utilize them among our children, our family members. This is where it started. But as I said, we think that discipline is what it is. It prevents us. It's like a threat to stop us from continuing in doing wrongs or doing something that is not accepted by society or your parents or the household. You say 40 days and 40 nights, just liquid water. You you don't need to eat nothing. What I think about that? Well, it can happen. It's self-discipline. Self-discipline is a very powerful thing. I think anybody can do that. Anybody can tell themselves, because it's all here. Everything, all the feelings, all the sensitivity that you have comes from the mind. It's all begin here. It begins there. So you can control yourself. The more you allow yourself to be engulfed in these, earthly things, is the more you're going to want them. You're going to want more of that because it's sweet to you. If you have never eaten something sweet before, then you wouldn't know what sweet is. But because you have tasted it and it becomes an acquired taste, now you want to indulge more into it. So we're pulled into things because we live in an infernal world, right? We live in a materialistic place where material, becomes the order of the day. We want this, we want that, we want this, Yeah, but people, you can meditate. Through meditation, you can always conduct yourself, in a disciplined way. So meditation is very important. So you can accomplish the 40 days and 40 nights, and you can drink a liquid or whatever you need. Of course, it definitely can happen. But it's dedication in anything you do. Not everybody will successfully make it to the 40 days. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody will make it through the 40 days are not a short time, you know. Especially if you've been, you know, engaged in other things prior to that. You know, it's not like you're a child and this was the discipline and become customary to you, you know, in your society, and this is what everybody does. You know, it's like smoking cigarette to some people and they say they can't stop. And just stopping just like that, say, oh, I can't do it no more. You know, it's like just eating food and they say you're not eating for another 100 years. You know, so it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things to it, but it can happen. Yeah. Blue pill and red pill. That's basically what it is. So you have the right and you have the wrong, and the choices is yours. That's the freedom. You know, that's the freedom that we have because it was given to us. The Creator gave that to us. See, if He didn't give us a choice, it means, right? And this is why we have to go back to the Bible to understand what actually happened there, right? We have to go back there to understand, because if we to have freedom, right, is not to be controlled, right? Is not to be controlled. But if you have been controlled, or if you are being controlled by something, it means that you don't have freedom. So if the Most High was the one who controlling us and saying, do this, do that, do that, do that, we wouldn't have a choice to make. So there wouldn't be good or bad anymore. The choice, the idea of that choice would never exist. You know, it wouldn't exist. We would just know that this is what we have to do because this is what they say to do. And we would have done it without questioning. He would have made us that way within our mind, not giving us choices or freedom to think left, to think right. As you said, the red and the blue pill. You know, that's a choice. The left and the right. What do you do? But with that choice, you understand, it becomes a responsibility. Whether it's a good responsibility or a bad responsibility, but it comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility, you have to live with it for the rest of your lives. So, you know, we have to look into ourselves, finding the truth within ourselves, knowing ourselves as human beings, learning about our faults, our advantages and disadvantages, learning these things about ourselves, learning who we are and how we came about, not following the narrative that was passed down from generation to generation, but questioning some of these things. So we get back, you know, to the Bible, and how do we prove that a lot of these things inside here is actually true or not? Because when we live by customs, and when you have a society around you that enforce something, everybody within the society become a part of that. Everybody within the society believe that. Exactly. Discipline, you know, is necessary because we see what discipline can do. We have experiment with it as parents, right? We have seen other parents experiment with it, and you know they were successful. But not because they were successful, because an individual will change because either he's being obedient because he's feeling something, and it's about him, not about you. It's about what he felt at the time. And he decided, well, I will comply for now because I don't like to be hit. It's very painful to be hit. So I'm going to listen for now. But this doesn't mean that you have any control over this person. You know what I mean? You don't have any control. It's just for the moment, right? It's like somebody, they need shelter from the rain, and you subject them to something that they don't want to do. But because they don't want to be wet in the rain and they need somewhere warm to stay, they'll comply with what you say. Doesn't mean that they agree doing the things that you demand them to do. Right? They don't agree. But for now, just to spend this night in this warm house, I'm going to just, you know, go against my principle for a while. Well, so it's the same thing with kids, you know. They don't really want to listen to you. Because if it's not in them to do so, why are they listening to you? So when you put rules in place or you shout, and people have different ways of disciplining their children. You know, some would use the rod, as you said, Trini, you know. Some would use the rod, some is just verbal, just verbally, so it's different approach to this. But as I said, it doesn't mean because you talk to someone, mean that they want to comply with you. Sometimes they try to respect the head of authority. Respecting that doesn't mean that they actually respect you. They're just showing by their actions. But in their mind, it's always different, the way they think about you. So, by their actions, they'll say, okay, I'll have to listen because I don't want to get punished. I don't want to get beaten. I don't want to, and they'll do this. So we can attest, all of us or a lot of us, that punishment do work at points, right? It does work, to the extent, right? It does work. So we definitely could say that it worked at some point, But it's crazy that we have to go back to find ourselves because we're lost. And when you're lost, it means that you don't know your way. You don't know where you're going. You didn't know where you were coming from. So you can't find anywhere. You can't finish your journey. You can't accomplish your journey because you don't know where you come from. So you don't know where you're going. Being lost, it's not a good thing. So my people, we have to find ourselves. And this is why we talk about this Bible and we're trying to break it down for you to understand that not everything in here. And I want you guys to read this for yourselves. Just don't take my word for it here on the Naked Truth, but I want you guys to read it for yourself so that you can come into the knowledge of what this is. See, we may take this book and we will cherry pick what we want to support, what we believe, what we've been indoctrinated with, what we've been taught in society. How do we know all these things that we've been taught in society if they're true or not? But we govern ourselves. We bend ourselves to follow these rules. By whom? Who were these rules set by? These are questions that we never ask. We just, they say to go left and it's left. They say to go right, and there's very trivial things, right? We don't want to get too trivial about it. But my point is, we will follow things in society and we won't question, especially things that have an impact on our lives. Things that impact us, right? Things that truly, truly impact us, and that becomes a problem when we cannot sieve, through the reality of what this is. We're stuck. We're in a loop. How to get out of this loop? How much of this book did the Most High said, right, to the prophets to write? How much of it? And who had to this? And what did they had to this? Because if you read it, you'll see for yourself. And you can skip any page and read. Then even in the beginning, it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without void, right? That's what they said. In the beginning, God created the earth, and the earth was without void. And the Spirit of the Most High, was moving upon the face of the deep. And God said, this is somebody saying, and God said. Someone is saying this. Who is saying that? And God said, what weakness was there? And God said, let there be light, and there was. Right? And let's, separate the water and the deep and the night from the day and call it day. And all of these things when you read it. And then he said, let us make man in our image. And then you go further in the page, it says, and now God is created male and female. He created them male and female. So somebody is reading something or writing something, convincing someone to believe in the story. Is it true? Is the Genesis story true? You have to question these things. Otherwise, we'll be following a path of destruction. How do we know all these things we absorb, right? And later on, we find out, oh my God, this wasn't it. Who put these information in place? This is why we have to read diligently, right? And we have to study so that we can establish the truth for ourselves, so we could know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, well, and the Maccabee Bible, that's a good thing. See, we have different, there's different Bible, but still, these books were processed through certain institution, and these institutions that these books were printed and processed through, and the people that have the information, right? This is the problem. Because we could reference many books, and we can attest that there are many books that are true, and some things that are written in it by, we're reading, and we're comparing them to to things that happen, so we know, okay, well, this actually happened, so we can say, but it doesn't validate the whole book itself, right? So we can talk about the Maccabee, for instance, right? And in the days of the Maccabees, I mean, they've said the Maccabee Bible, and this was restricted in the islands from, people back in the islands to read. You could go to jail if they catch you with that book. What was so important in this book that they wanted to hide? So it would pique anyone's interest to read this book to find out why they were stopping the slaves. And I'm not saying that white people were going to be arrested for reading it. This had to do with melanated people, black people. They would go to jail if they were caught reading the Maccabee, if they were caught with it. What was important within this Maccabee? And the volume of the Maccabee now, because it's not in the melanated people possession, what was valuable in it that they didn't want us to see at that time, right? And the version that you're getting now, is it watered down? What did they change in it? Because now that you can read, you have to understand, because you could read now doesn't mean that the truth still exists in this book. Maybe there's a few books out there that you could find with the complete truth, right? Maybe there's certain books you could find with the complete truth in it, but these people are trying to control the information. They're trying to control the narrative. And once they're doing that, then you understand, and the reason why they get to do that, right? Because they're passing down the information from their generation to their generation. Our generation has been cut off. So the information is not in our hands to pass down to our, to our people, to our sons and daughters, and it's valid information. So if the information has gone through these institutions, then you have to understand that someone tampered with the information, right? They had to pervert the words in the book. Well, it is a program. You definitely can call it a program. That's basically what it is. So we don't, if we don't, we could read many books. We could talk about school and what we accomplish in school as if this is life. The bird survive and have its family, and he went out every morning and he pick up worm and he build him nest. Who taught him? Which school did the bird go to? Which college did he went to build a nest? You know what I'm saying? And the wild boar and the wild hog who dig hole and burrows in the earth, and the ants who make their burrows. Well, which college they went to learn this? You have to ask yourself, looking at nature itself, what the mango trees and the apple trees produce, their fruits. Which school did they go to learn how to become parents of mangoes, right? And fruits, how do they bear them? It's these things we have to ask ourselves, right? So it's very deep, looking into life than we're looking into it now, because we're indoctrinated with information. Yeah. That is truly life, man. We've been indoctrinated with so many nonsense that it's difficult when the truth is being presented to you, it doesn't feel right because you're not used to it. We're not used to the truth. So when it's presented to us in that context, it seems like, no, this couldn't be right. We'll fight the truth down. We'll fight it down to the very end. We have to change. We have to learn that the information that we're getting, because it wasn't passed down. And I'm begging you, people. And I'm talking to melanated people, black people, no calling yourself and reference to yourself. Right? Don't believe everything that the other nation tells you. Don't believe in their institution. You understand me? You're a survivor here. Survive the best way you can and learn whatever you can learn and analyze whatever it is that you can analyze. Come to the truth. They didn't tell you everything. They won't tell you everything. You understand me? They're not going to tell you that you're important. You won't know that. So you need to figure this out yourselves. You have to figure this out yourself. It's very important, and I'm begging you people, please study hard. Learn the truth. Ask questions about things that you see. Just don't take it for face value. And a lot of you do that. The things that they standardize within this society for us, they standardize it. They say this is right. They say this is law within their society. They say that. The same law that govern them shouldn't be the same law that govern us. We're different people. So it doesn't work for us. It doesn't resonate with us as it will resonate with their people. These laws were meant to protect their people and to keep us out. Yeah. Yep. Egypt. Take that from Egypt. Yep. Definitely. And that's one of the things too. And you're bringing up some very interesting point. You know, Egypt, or what they call Egypt today, and the face of Egypt, or how we look at Egypt. And if you should ask a younger child about Egypt, they will tell you that the people, and ask them what the Egyptians look like today. They're going to tell you these white-looking people that live in Egypt today that claim to be Egyptians. That's what they're going to say. They don't know who the true Egyptians are because they weren't taught that. Our people were never taught that. Our kids were never taught that. But even though we know it, they're not out to get us, because them say you can't teach old dog new tricks. They're not out to get the older generation. You know what they're out to get? They're out for the children. They're out for the kids. They want to make sure that programming that they're putting out, you know what I'm saying, it's the kids are the one who's going to be affected by this. The adults, they know that you have no time left here. How many time do you have left if you're in your 50s here? How many time do you have left here in the earth? So they're worried. They're not worried about you. Your time is very short. They're worrying about your children, your kids, because they're the future. Indoctrinate them, put the information in them so there won't be no resistance. This is orchestrated out, man. You know, you have to know that. You guys have to start learning. You know, as Trinity Boy say, Egypt, even the word Egypt is not even the term that was used. And since we're on the naked truth here, we have to talk and just break this part down for you. The name Egypt is a Greek name. That's what the Greek call this place. The Greek. Somebody in another country can call your country a name. That's not the name of your country. But all of this has to happen because they wanted to replace the people that were living there. Do you know that black people living in Egypt, the original indigenous Kemetians? God, that's what the name of the place, Kemet. If you go back to Noah, and we are connect this with the Bible, right? If you go back to Noah and his three sons, right? Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? This is how you're going to find out the name of these places, right? So there were three brothers, right? Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? And Ham had four sons, right? Cush, Put, Mizrahim, and Canaan. Did you get what I'm saying? So Put was Upper Egypt. That was one brother. Their inheritance. The Most High gave them their inheritance. Put, Upper Egypt. Kemet, Lower Egypt. Cush, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a Greek name as well. So that's not the original name of those people. It's not Ethiopians, they're Cushites. These are four brothers living in that area. And the land was split up on Canaan, which are the same African way you know today, where you call them, and the name is not Africa either. You understand me? But the land of Ham or the land of Canaan. This was the land that the other black with them called sub-Saharan Africans live. So you have the Kush, you have Put, Kemites, and these people are blended. You can't say there's a distinction between them. But after hundreds of years of living together as neighbors, if this teaching wasn't given, like oral teachings or written teaching were passed down to let them know that they were brothers and they were connected, you have to understand after a while, as people that know each other died, and the people that didn't familiar with the other people or the meetings or how they meet, that this knowledge would have been lost. So ancient in Kemet is what they call Egypt today. Ancient Kush is what they call Ethiopia today. So we need to know these things. And the people that live in the area are relatives. The Kushites, the Kemetians, Put, and Canaan. All of these people resemble each other because they were family members. So when you look at Egypt today, and what do you see there? What do you see in Egypt today? White people. And but this is gonna be another topic, for another time. Definitely gonna be, because we want to talk about that, because we here, and I hope that we can come back here next Friday and really, because we were supposed to discuss that, and that's what I wanted to discuss. But today I had to talk about the global warming, and kind of give you a clear understanding of what's happening with that. Now we're going to talk about the people and the brown people, because we keep hearing these terms, the brown people. So we're definitely gonna have a discussion about that next Friday. The brown people, and let's break it down. Let me break this down for you guys so you can understand the people that you're looking at today, and who you think they are, but what you have learned in school through indoctrination, right? You think that they are these people and that people. You're going to know next Friday. We're definitely going to unload, you understand me, and that, and let you guys know who these people are. Not what they say, but who they truly are and what they try to portray. So we're going to talk about that next Friday, if we can. It's going to be great, man. So I hope everybody that tune in at the shop, and big up yourself, Trini boy, Willie G, big up yourself, man. Everybody out there, I want to say, the naked truth, right? You get your information right here. And we definitely need support from you guys out there in the community. Remember that. We have to educate. We have to unlearn what we know, re-educate ourselves with the truth. You understand me? Just don't run with this and then you realize what you're running with is the wrong thing in the end. We have time to change ourselves. We have time to better ourselves, so let's do that. Just don't take everything for face value, man. Do some thinking. Use your mind. Where's your common sense? Utilize it. You have it. You have this program. As I said before, see the bird. The bird go out and him using beak and build a nest. His beak and build a nest. One of the most sophisticated thing that you'd ever see. And you'd be wondering how he did it, right? You can't even use 2 fingers and build a nest. Once a person use 2 fingers and build a nest. The bird did it. Come on, man. Use your common sense. God gave us a tool. We just have to utilize it, man. Don't let them tell you that you have to go here to know anything or to learn anything. Everything that you want to know is already inside of you. You just have to unlock it. So we definitely have to thank you guys, for tuning in with us. Because we have ATO coming up after. So, we just want to leave you guys, as I said before. This is the book that you need to read. Please read it over and over as much as you can. Don't go in this book because you're trying to add yourself to some religion. You understand me? Just read it and understand it first. Right? And then you're going to see the truth. So do read that. I gave you guys Deuteronomy 28 through 68. Those are the chapters that you can read and try to understand them. You learn who you are. And I wish you guys all the best, man. We want to know the thing good, right? And let's do this. Next week, next Friday, we're gonna be here, and the lines will be open. Yeah, definitely, man. The lines will be open for you guys to call in, and we can talk. We can have a dialogue about, as I said, here on the Naked Truth. It's not just biblical. As I said, it's all aspect of life, reality. You know what I mean? This is what we do here on the Naked Truth. So you guys can call in at any time, and we can have a discussion. Big up Trini Boy for your comments and your questions, man. And big up everybody out there. T Walls, big up yourself. Everybody in the chat, big up on yourself. Right? And we're gonna take a detour and try to. And ATO is after this. So I want you guys to stay tuned for that. Right? Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that, because we're going to come back. ATO is on. We're going to see you guys next Friday. And do remember, we're going to be talking about these brown people and who they are, and the people in Egypt and the Middle East, and these other places, and who these people are. So let's get down to the truth here, and the naked truth, So the fool in I'm heart, so there is no God, man. But listen, wake up. We don't deal with atheists, because if atheists know themselves, they would have known that they didn't create themselves. So it had to be someone who created them, give them desire, feelings, and all the instinct that they have to come with such a profound understanding of what they claim to be. So big up on yourself, everybody out there. One love to everyone. Until next Friday, we're going to see you guys, man. Stay locked, keep it locked, because we're coming back with ATO. It's going to be right here on the stream. So much love and respect to you guys, man. Blessing, and you're going out and you're going in. And do remember, read the Bible.